attend to the demands of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG. The association has commenced yet another strike today, January 2. We will engage the association on this latest turn of events. Also coming up as we gear towards the end of the 8th Parliament, members of Parliament for the 9th Parliament are to register in person starting today, January 2, 2024. Stay with us. We have these and more coming up shortly. We're most grateful for your time this afternoon. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel. It is ABC News GH. Now let's get into our first story. In the early hours of January 2, 2025, a devastating fire swept through the Kantamanto market in Accra, leaving traders in despair as they counted their losses. The market, known for its vibrant atmosphere and diverse range of goods, was reduced to ashes in a matter of hours. The scene was one of heartbreak and chaos, and traders, many of whom had invested their life savings into their businesses, sifted through the charred remains of their stalls, hoping to salvage anything of value. Let's take a listen to some of the traders.
Left and the parents fast is one by your friend one them, but it's a book area bina your omu but Chinese phone is omu pinine omu buho almost omu pinine omu buho a chair asana before everyone a January I heavy as per that or other house you know.
A very unfortunate incident there in Kantamanto just after the Christmas. We know how much traders invest into their wares to be able to sell and make some profit. You'd recall we had some conversations with the National Fire Service some weeks ago in the lead up to the Yuletide or the Christmas. We spoke about fires and how they ravage our markets. Let's speak with the Ghana National Fire Service's Head of Public Relations, DO2, Desmond Aka. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me.
We've had some conversations about fire. Unfortunately, today we've come back on conversations again because fire has ravaged one of our biggest markets in the country. 6 hours, almost 6 hours since this inferno. What is the latest the fire service can give us on the issue?
Right. Let me say a very good afternoon to your cherished listeners. I can confidently tell you that now we've been able to subdue the fire which started in the early hours of this morning, that has ravaged over 100 structures within the Kantamanto area. We've been able to subdue it. Currently, what we are doing is doing what we call overhaul to ensure that all the other remaining pockets of fire are dealt with. They are fully dealt with. As it stands now, we've not recorded any casualty. We've not recorded any civilian nor firefighter injuries or deaths or fatalities. So that is the situation on the ground now.
Looking at these problems of fire in the country, most often than not, or more often than not, we are told that you can't really pinpoint the source of the fire, what's precipitated the fire. In this case of Kantamanto, is it too early to ask what the source of the fire is or was?
Yes, we have begun with our investigations, and we would want to leverage on all the possible or available resources that are at our disposal to be able to come up with the actual cause of fire. You know, when situations like this happen, it is important that you identify the exact source of fire or the origin of fire. Once you are able to determine the origin of fire, then you are likely to get to the bottom of this fire. And that is what our team have earnestly begun. And we believe that in no time, once we're able to identify the origin of fire, we'll be able to zoom down to look at the causative factor to be able to alert you and your listeners to what exactly led to the fire. But I must also be quick to commend our men who have been standing on their feet for the past 6 hours or so to contain this inferno. The challenges have always been the same. Getting access to where even the fire actually started from was a problem. And you know, per the season that we are in, the windy nature, the dry kind of weather facilitated the rapid spread of the fire. But we have succeeded in salvaging the adjoining structures, such as the commercial bank building, GCB bank building, which was so close and which nearly was affected. We were able to salvage the entire premises from this particular fire in such a way that we have not recorded any injury, and that is commendable. Once we are not recording any casualty, for us, we pat ourselves on the back. Just that this time round, I think we need to do a bit more. We need the market managers would have to be proactive and be assertive this time round to ensure that after this fire management, they would put in measures to ensure that there are properly demarcated alleys and lanes to serve as access routes or asset points to facilitate escape. If this fire had happened in the daytime, it would have been very difficult for us to even evacuate the traders and even the users or the beneficiaries of this particular infrastructure. So we would want to collaborate with them and ensure that they ensure that there is proper demarcation, there are alleys, so that in future, if something like that should happen, we would have easy access. We can gain access to the seat of fire, and we'll be able to do what we are known best of doing. Because we didn't get access, coupled with the effects of the weather, it helped the fire to protract and to spread easily. And thanks to the tactics that we're able to deploy, we were able to salvage the other adjoining structures that we can. I don't know whether you have seen, observe, or be following our Facebook. You would realize that a lot of the major structures around where the fire started, apart from the wooden stalls and the metal containers, which have been much unaffected by the fire, all the other concrete structures and the giant structures there have been salvaged. And for that, I must commend our men for the yeoman's work. But as I've already indicated, we have begun an earnest investigation to be able to know what exactly led to the fires.
Speaking about the fires, obviously, and then the market managers have come into the conversation. Isn't it about time that the market managers also contacted you to be able to plan with you when they are putting together their markets? Because more often than not, anytime issues of fires happen, it is obviously market fires here and then. The issue is always about the ability to be able to reach the fire and then extinguish it. So shouldn't you be having any shouldn't they be having consultations with you on their demarcations and all, especially as you know how it will help you if you had enough room to navigate the markets?
I think there is still a problem. There's a missing link between the users of the market and those who manage the market. And most often than not, because we are not able to take the bull by the horn, after the fire management, we expect that the market managers will take charge and liaise with us to be able to do the needful. Before they realize or before they could do that, the users of those facilities would just erect their own structure, even ahead of them, and sometimes become very difficult. That is why I earlier on indicated that they must be proactive and assertive this time round to ensure that that does not happen. We can only collaborate with them and then ensure that the right thing is done. But if the owner does not have the political will, does not have what it takes to ensure the right thing is done, then it becomes very difficult for us to ensure that people's investments are safeguarded and lives are protected. That is our biggest challenge. We are ever ready, but it seems that they do not have the political will to be able to do that, and that is what has led, or that is what has been leading to some of these destructive fires. I mean, look at a beautiful year that we've all entered. We were not expecting this, but here we are. Look at the number of property, look at the number of wells that have gone down the drain. I mean, this should not be allowed to continue. So we will still want to emphasize and then urge the market owners or the market managers at that place to be able to be assertive this time round to ensure that the right thing is done. We are behind them and we will support them to be able to do the needful.
More updates from the National Fire Service regarding these market fires. Thank you for your time, sir. DO2 Desmond Aka is the head of public relations for the Ghana National Fire Service. Today, fire engulfing the countermantle markets, people, traders have lost their wares. Let's go and listen to some of them.
And you giant plan here, wouldn't you who said, only a two and one morning in a coincide, I was being coincide. I'm not only in the original town, in a such a fashion, you know, fashion if you room for you. And then you say, about interest was as we saw. He said, I believe you come on. I see 2012. I see Mayor Bahama Catcher said, a man advantage of it at as I did before. And to when I say, no, and you hear us say, no, and you're not be womb. I just said, assassin take advantage of man or waiting there just for a BBA. And to say, Omaba Bamras assassin Shidia. There's a BB was here. Yes, because MPP for strong good. Anti-Rose, I think a bio, Satan will commander. Over 2 tegas, you should be caterpillars to Virginia. Emma, Mayor, or command up of the country and say, I have to take advantage. I'm going to be more. And you know, my banner abandoning and Sanas, Jonas, please. And a DJ from Ghana from Moja and a Jabre Anya. What is our machine 1 o'clock and a Janisha?
Some affected traders at the Kantamanto market. Away from that, and to some education stories, the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CTAG, has announced this decision to embark on an indefinite strike effective Tuesday, January 2, 2025. The declaration follows an emergency National Council meeting of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association held on Monday, December 30, 2024. In a statement issued on December 31, CTAG explained that this decision follows earlier notices of strike served on September 26, 2024 and December 23, 2024, of which the National Labour Commission failed to address the concerns raised. CTAG said this action has become necessary due to the government's continuous violation of signed agreements and roadmaps on the outstanding compulsory arbitration award issued by the National Labour Commission on May 2, 2023. Additionally, CTAG noted that the government had delayed paying 1 month's basic salary as compensation for all year-round work done by them. Staff in 2022. This payment, which was part of the arbitration award, is yet to be made to 42 colleges of education. The union also highlighted the prolonged delay in issuing new appointment letters based on staff audits and the affiliate university schemes of service. These letters, which are crucial for the migration process, were expected to be issued by October 2024 but remain outstanding. So these are some of the grievances by the colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana. We'll take a look at some of the things that they have been calling for, but you would recall that in 2024 we brought you a series of conversations with CTAG. CTAG had embarked on various strikes, and this is the latest in their industrial action. Let's speak with Isaiah Dokurong. He is with CTAG. Hello, Isaiah. Good afternoon. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good afternoon, my dear sister.
And Happy New Year to you. We are back again to this conversation about strike.
Yes.
After you rescinded your decision, or you paused on your decision some months ago, what has necessitated that you go back on resuming the strike?
Yeah, in fact, I thank all your cherished listeners, and this thing we are doing, my good, listen, this particular strike is not actually a new thing. We wanted to embark on strike on just 1 month ago. We served a notice. Then the employer was so intelligent that he has to shift the reopening to January. Then as he did that, we don't have problem of what the employer has done. We still, as a council, we had several meetings, and we realized that it's good that we actually have this strike declared today. As we declared it, we declared this strike indefinite if our demands are not met.
What becomes of your students in school? Because last year, for most part of 2024, they lost contact hours. They didn't have the full expression of their education. And in our conversations with them, this is something which has persisted over the years. If at the beginning of the year, when the calendar has already been shifted to suit the students, going on a strike again, what becomes of their education, especially the final year students?
You see, the final year students, and people think that the employer think that she's very intelligent, actually to play tricks. And as a good number of us, over 2,000 people, putting our mind together is not a small thing. And I'm telling you that the students are our concern. And all these things we are doing, my dear sister, we are even trying to fight for the students. When they come into the system as workers, they themselves will feel better. We are doing it because of them.
So you are doing this for your students. However, your students have also raised concerns. In our last conversation with the students, the colleges of education students, they complained, they bemoaned that you're not coming to class. It's adversely affecting them. They do not know how they are going to complete school with all of what is happening. So can there be a balance? Can't you strike a balance in all of this so that whereas you are still asking for what is due you to be given, your students can also be attended to in school?
Yes, we will solve the problem, but the problem can only be solved when the employer did what is needful. Because when you look at this, my sister, we started this particular problem since 2022. We struggle up to we took ourselves and then the employer to National Labour Commission. And then the National Labour Commission ruled in favor of CTAC. Instead of them to implement the National Labour Commission ruling, they up to 20 months now, more than 20 months, my dear sister, the award has not been implemented. And that is the reason why we are fighting. We say if they implement the award, and what are the awards? 1 month all year round compensation. Because the COVID time, we actually struggle. We struggle all the whole year. Then when we struggle the whole year, and then when the National Labour Commission rule again that per our qualification, the certificate we are holding, it is good that the employer actually migrated so that we will be actually the same thing as our colleagues who are in the universities. And up to date, my dear sister, these two major awards, none of them has happened.
Okay, but have you engaged the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission? Because according to the National Labour Commission, they are the ones to facilitate payment and facilitate the migration.
We engaged them several times. Let me tell you emphatically that we had about 44 meetings with them since 2022 up to now. My sister, one meeting can solve a problem. Look at 44 meetings. And they are all on records, letters of invitations. I'm telling you. So all this, if the problem has not been solved, we have to actually fight for our welfare and the welfare of the students. Anyway, some of the students can play hypocritical by saying that they are worried. But to my side, many of the students are actually supporting us that what we are actually demanding for is our right.
Well, Isaiah, we'll come back to this conversation in subsequent bulletins. However, 44 meetings. 44 meetings is so many meetings to look at for payment and migration. Would you say that during those meetings there was no cohesion, there was no consensus between you and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission?
Very good. Those meetings, we will push for some time. We will have an agreement, have MOU, and then you can testify it. You hear that CTAG is on strike, and sometimes we call off the strike. Anytime you hear that we call off the strike, it means that we believe in Ghana is a peaceful country, and we believe in democracy, we believe in negotiation. And that is the reason why when we see that something good is coming, then we have to call off the strike and make sure that the Ghanaian child will not lose what he is supposed to get in the classroom. So when we continue doing this, the employer is actually taking us for granted. As the employer is taking us for granted, we are saying now we have to do what is needful. We will not call off this strike until all our monies and arrears are hit in our accounts.
Thank you for your time this afternoon, Isaiah.
Thank you.
Isaiah Dukrong is a council member for CTAG. He says that until all of their monies have been paid into the accounts, CTAG will not call off this strike. Away from CTAG, let's get into some conversations ahead of swearing in. And in a press briefing held today, officials have revealed that in-person registration for members of parliament elect will commence today, January 2, and continue until January 5 from 10 a.m. at the Visitor Center on the Parliament's premises. This is in preparation for the dissolution of the 8th Parliament, the inauguration of the 9th Parliament, and the swearing-in of the President-elect. Although online registration for MPs-elect has already been completed, in-person biometric registration remains mandatory.
We've already commenced. The first one is the registration, which we have started. We are having an online registration, and then once that is completed, the members of parliament elects would come in person for their biometric data to be captured. And so the in-person registration will start today, which is 2nd to the 5th of January, and the time we've given is 10 a.m. The venue is the Visitor Center, which is just across where some of the car park is. We've already commenced. The first one is the registration, which we have started. We are having an online registration, and then once that is completed, the members of parliament elects would come in person for their biometric data to be captured. And so the in-person registration will start today, which is 2nd to the 5th of January, and the time we've given is 10 a.m. The venue is the Visitor Center, which is just across where some...
Away from that, the Deputy Director of Elections and IT for the National Democratic Congress, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer, has called for the resignation of certain state CEOs as the NDC prepares to take up governance. Speaking earlier on ABC in the morning, Dr. Rashid Tanko explained that some of these CEOs must step down due to their role in contributing to the nation's economic challenges. He stated that the NDC would not tolerate their continued leadership and also will not include them in their governance. Dr. Tanko's comments reflect the party's stance on accountability and its commitment to addressing the economic issues facing the country.
We don't want any reactionary officer to sit in the office and do anything against our policies just because he thinks that he's a technical officer. We won't allow it. Ghanaians suffered for 8 years under this terrible regime. Certain officers contributed to that. Certain CEOs all contributed to the terrible economy that we are having. We are not going to allow them to continue to be in the office, to continue to mess our government up. Please, we are telling them, honorably tender in your resignation and go. You are not the only Ghanaian.
Okay.
NDC will have our team.
All right.
The Ghanaians voted for it because they know our team is coming to deliver. Did they attend schools in Jupiter and we attended schools in Plateau? And you think that they have technical know-how too? And you think that they have technical know-how more than NDC?
Away from politics, the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, has strongly advised the Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education against reopening schools on January 3, 2025 after the Christmas break. Prior to this, CHAS, in a letter dated December 20, addressed to the Ministry of Education, warned that a failure to address the financial constraints facing the schools before January 3 could disrupt the reopening process. The recommendation is due to unresolved financial issues that have yet to be addressed by the government, despite multiple requests made by CHAS leadership. In letters sent to the Minister of Education and the Director General of GES dated August 12, 2024, November 13, 2024, and December 20, 2024, CHAS raised concerns over unpaid arrears related to perishables, recurrent fees, and transportation costs for food items delivered from regional distribution centers to schools. The association expressed disappointment over the lack of action on these pressing matters, which have left schools in a difficult financial position. As a result, CHAS has informed its members that the reopening of schools on the scheduled date of January 3 is not advisable. Parents and guardians will be notified of the decision through appropriate channels, particularly through regional branches of CHAS and various school parent associations. This decision was made after the authorities failed to respond to CHAS's repeated requests for payment. Leadership has confirmed that another reminder was sent to the Minister of Education through the Director General urging swift resolution of the financial issues. CHAS leadership appealed to all members to adhere to the directive, warning that any action against this decision will be regarded as a betrayal of trust in the association's efforts. They reassured members that further updates will be provided once the situation is addressed, expressing hope for the resolution of the issues and the timely reopening of schools. As Parliament sits for the first session for the year 2025 and ahead of the dissolution of the 8th Parliament, the Education Minister, Dr. Yawose Educhum, is expected in the House today to answer questions on all the troubles which disrupted the calendar. Forward to having conversations with the Director of Institute of African Studies, IFEST, Dr. Peter Anti, on this development on schools reopening, because we know that by Friday, most of the second cycle institutions will be reopening for schools and for students to attend school. However, CHAS is saying that this cannot happen. You would also recall that many conversations have come up about our second cycle institutions. We spoke with the Parent-Teacher Association a few weeks ago or a few days ago about the whole issue of second cycle institutions, especially about free SHS and all. They raised concerns about the standard of living of the awards in schools and how there needs to be a restructuring of our senior high schools, and a look government or the necessary stakeholders must take a look at the schools again and the education of the awards. This is the latest in this matter. We'll bring you more in subsequent bulletins. Away from education, the Executive Director of the Center for Conflict Resolution Ghana, CENCO, Roxanne Conde, has criticized the Electoral Commission for excluding local observers from monitoring the just ended 2024 general elections. Speaking earlier on ABC in the morning, Mr. Conde expressed concerns that the EC's focus on accrediting foreign observers has sidelined the role of local organizations. He revealed that CENCO, one of the prominent local observer groups, was denied accreditation to observe the elections without a clear reason for the refusal. Conde emphasized that this exclusion could have a negative impact on the integrity of the electoral process, highlighting the importance of local perspectives in ensuring a fair and transparent elections.
Results under duress. Now, they were focused on giving the accreditation to the foreign observers. Where are they? They have all gone back to their countries. Now, we are settled the challenges to resolve the problem now. And because they knew that the local observer would have monitored and determined whether these processes were free, fair, and transparent or not, and that may not serve their interest, they deny most of them, including Senko accreditation. What will EC lose for the first time in history? That EC deny most of the local observers accreditation to observe elections. What was special about 2020 to observe to monitor the elections? That's all. Nothing else, nothing more. We even wrote back to them to demand the reasons why we were denied.
Let's go back to our conversation on the reopening of schools and about CHAS. Executive Director for the Institute of African Studies is Dr. Peter Anti. He joins us on the line. Good afternoon, Doc, and a happy new year to you.
Good afternoon. Happy New Year to you and your listeners and viewers. The institute is Institute for Education Studies, and not African Studies. Yes, please.
Pardon me, sir. Institute for Education Service. Let's look at this conversation. The latest on all of conversations about our second cycle institutions is that CHAS is calling for GES and the Ministry of Education to postpone school reopening. From your observation of all of the discussions that have gone on in this space, what will be the best way to address the issue? There seems to be an issue that never dies down with regards to our second cycle institutions.
The best way to address this issue is to release the money needed by CHAS to them. They cannot run the school without the resources that they are asking for. And I think that they are at their wit's end. And if you reopen school, it will be difficult for them to run the schools. So the best way out is to release the monies to CHAS so that they can go on with their activities. And when that is done, I think that the schools can reopen. For me, so far as the heads are indicating that they cannot reopen the schools because they are resource constrained, I think it is something that we all have to support them. And call on the government to release the monies to them so that they can undertake what they are mandated to do. And I think all this would go away.
Can there be a middle ground where students can go to school whilst they work on the release of these monies? Because staying at home also has its own challenges for students and also places a certain toll on their education. Can't we find a middle ground?
I think this you cannot find a middle ground. If you look at their letters, they've been asking for these releases August. The letters dates from August, and some of the monies are as far back as 2021. So when are you going to find a middle ground? It's left with like 4 days for the government to officially exit office. So if they are not able to release the money now, it means that they are pushing this burden to the next government. And that is why I'm saying that you cannot ask us to find a middle way because they cannot feed the students. They cannot run the schools. They don't have the resources. I'm not the one saying it. They are telling us that, look, if you allow these kids to come to campus, we don't have food to feed them. We cannot run our daily activities because there are no monies available. So where do you create the middle ground? It cannot be possible. I think that people have to be held responsible for this and do the needful. They need to release the monies to the heads so that they can undertake their activities. Without the monies, I don't think I would even ask my child to go to school when I know that.
Your call has been put on hold. Your call.
Auntie, who is the Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies. Hello, Dr. Auntie.
Yeah, so that's the point I'm making. I'm saying that I don't think I will even allow my work to go to school when I've been told point blank by the head that they cannot feed them. Why would I allow my child to go to school when I know that they cannot be fed?
Okay. Well, we are grateful for your time this afternoon, sir.
Welcome.
Dr. Peter Anti is the Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies. Government should pay CHAS the monies that must be paid, otherwise schools should not reopen. Let's take a break. We'll be back with business.
That's This is where the headlines are probed. Policies scrutinized through an objective lens with an unbiased approach to every discussion. Key in to a series of pulsating conversations with the hard questions.
Why do you still want to run when you have failed?
I haven't. What do you mean by failed?
In-depth analysis of policy proposals.
If it is a temporary program, why do we want to still create another gold reserve exchange program also to address a temporary issue?
If you introduce a temporary measure and you realize that the temporary measure works and is sustainable, you have to rethink whether or not it should just be temporary.
And every agenda and positions intellectually debated to set the record straight.
Look, you've still not answered the question now.
Go on.
Question is, if Article 78(1) is anything to go by, your ministers of state largely are supposed to come from the parliament.
Yes.
The law says that not less than 10 and not more than 19. So these are your cabinet, your ministers of state you're going to get. How do you intend to? Have you thought about managing that hurdle?
Absolutely. If I hadn't, I probably would not get on the parade to do this.
On Focus on ABC, we focus on the matter, the personality, and the answer beyond the rhetoric. Focus on ABC shows every Thursday at 7 p.m. only on ABC News Ghana television.
You're welcome back. You're still watching ABC Midday. Now into business stories. About 22% of banks operating in Ghana have failed to meet the 13% capital adequacy ratio CEA threshold. According to IC Insights, these banks would require continuous adherence to recapitalization plan, enforcement of strict credit risk standards, and continued profitability to restore capital buffers to pre-domestic debt exchange program levels. IC Insights, however, stated that the banking sector is making good progress on capital restoration as we head into the final year of regulatory relief. The report said that the disaggregated data on the banking sector solvency position showed steady improvement in the industry's capital adequacy ratio as CAR stood at 14.3% in October 2024. Notably, the CAR level without regulatory relief stood at 11.1%, and it indicates an improvement from 7.3% in the prior year, with optimism for continued progress as the country heads into this year 2025, the final year of regulatory reliefs. According to the November 2024 Monetary Policy Report, the solvency indicators improved, with the capital adequacy ratio with reliefs increasing to 11.1% from 7.2% in October 2023. Credit risk, however, remained elevated, with the NPL ratio rising to 22.7% from 18.3% over the review period. That's all for business news this afternoon. We'll take a break. We'll be back with some local stories. Parliament is set to reconvene today, January 2, 2025, following the conclusion of the holiday recess. This marks the commencement of the first session of the year, which is expected to tackle several critical national issues. It will be recalled that Parliament adjourned its 7th meeting of the 4th session of the 8th Parliament to January 2, 2025, without approving the 68.13 million Ghana cedi expenditure in advance of appropriation meant to cover public sector salaries for January to March 2025. Key on the agenda is the consideration of legislative proposals that were deferred during the last sitting in December 2024. Among these are the Free Secondary Education Bill 2024, the expenditure in advance of appropriation, a $250 million World Bank facility for the Ghana Financial Stability Project, and the President's nomination of 2 justices for the Supreme Court. The Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Alban Babin, is expected to outline the priorities for this session in his opening remarks. Parliamentary committees are also expected to resume work immediately to expedite the review of outstanding bills and reports. Still in Parliament, Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam is set to present the 2025 mini-budget to Parliament today as the House reconvenes for its first sitting of the new year. The presentation is expected to outline critical financial strategies to steer the country's economic recovery efforts. The mini-budget, a constitutional requirement outlining fiscal strategies and expenditure plans, has faced multiple delays, raising concerns about its impact on government operations. Speaker of Parliament Alban Sumana Kingsford Badbin last adjourned the House after Finance Minister Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam missed the statutory deadline for submitting the budget. Today's session is expected to address this lapse, with Dr. Adam set to present the expenditure in advance of appropriation for 2025. The presentation is anticipated to highlight key areas such as revenue mobilization and measures for fiscal consolidation. The delayed presentation of the mini-budget has drawn criticism, with economic analysts expressing concerns over the lack of clarity in the government's fiscal direction. With the economy facing significant challenges, including high public debt and fiscal deficits, the mini-budget is expected to provide crucial insights into government spending plans and strategies for achieving financial stability. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has extended warm New Year wishes to all Ghanaians, urging Ghanaians to embrace the upcoming year with hope and determination. Delivering his final New Year message with the nation, the president reflected on the challenges and achievements of the past year and encouraged citizens to approach the new year with renewed optimism and a collective commitment to progress. He further expressed his gratitude to the people of Ghana for their support and resilience throughout his tenure.
This New Year's message is deeply personal to me, as it is my last as your president. Serving you has been the greatest honor of my life. I stand before you not just as a leader, but as a fellow Ghanaian, humbled by the trust you have placed in me and inspired by the resilience and fortitude I have seen in each of you. As I prepare to pass on the baton of leadership, I do so hopeful in what lies ahead. Ghana is destined for greatness, and I believe in the strength of her people to achieve it. The foundation we've built together over the last 8 years will continue to grow, and I look forward to watching our beloved nation reach new heights. So, may 2025 bring our families joy, peace, and abundant blessings. May our homes be filled with laughter, our communities with unity, and our nation with prosperity. Let us step into the new year with hope in our hearts and determination in our steps, knowing that together.
President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has announced that Ghana's economy is witnessing a remarkable recovery, citing key economic growth indicators as evidence. Speaking on the country's progress, the president attributed the recovery to a strong 7.2 growth rate achieved in the third quarter of 2024. The overall economic growth rate for the year is projected at 6.8%. The president commended the resilience of the Ghanaian people and the government's strategic efforts in steering the country back to a growth trajectory despite global and domestic challenges.
Our economy is rebounding impressively, as demonstrated by the remarkable 7.2% growth achieved in the third quarter of 2024, with the year's growth rate projected at 6.8%. These achievements are not just numbers or statistics. They are stories of lives changed and futures made brighter. But I also acknowledge the challenges we have faced. The road has not always been smooth, and there have been times of difficulty and sacrifice. Yet through it all, the indomitable Ghanaian spirit has prevailed. The post-COVID-19 years have tested us to our limit, but it also reminded us of who we are.
Well, in more stories, President-elect John Dramani Mahama has pledged to rectify the shortcomings of the outgoing Akufo-Addo administration and steer Ghana towards transparency and fiscal discipline. In his New Year address for 2025, John Dramani Mahama emphasized his commitment to tackling corruption and curbing excessive government spending. He assured Ghanaians of his resolve to restore integrity and effectiveness in governance. The president-elect reaffirmed his commitment to establishing a streamlined and effective government that is attuned to the aspiration of Ghanaians.
My vision for our great nation includes a lean, efficient government responsive to your aspirations as a proud Ghanaian. We will work tirelessly to correct the outgoing administration's many wrongs, tackle corruption with dogged determination, and reduce excessive government expenditures. Each citizen's voice will be heard, and together we'll build a Ghana that reflects our collective hopes and dreams. Our collective hopes and dreams. The Ghana we all want and voted.
Away from that, let's take some sports stories. West Ham United's Mohamed Kudus has emerged as the king of take-ons in Europe's top 5 leagues for the 2024 season, cementing his reputation as one of the most electrifying dribblers in football. In a Squawka Football Info Analytic, the Ghanaian midfielder completed an astonishing 127 take-ons, far surpassing his peers in the rankings. Kudus, known for his explosive pace, silky footwork, and ability to glide past defenders, has been instrumental for West Ham this season, dazzling fans and causing nightmares for opposing defenses. Trailing far behind him in second place is Barcelona's 17-year-old sensation Lamine Yamal, who completed 96 take-ons. The young Spaniard continues to make waves in La Liga, demonstrating maturity and flair beyond his years. Jamal Musiala of Bayern Munich follows closely with 95 take-ons, while Savinho from Manchester City is impressed with 92. Up next is international news. President Bola Tinubu has announced that Nigeria will establish a national credit guarantee company in May 2025 to improve access to credit for businesses and individuals. The initiative, part of Tinubu's economic reform agenda, aims to bolster financial inclusion and stimulate economic growth by expanding risk-sharing instruments for financial institutions. This initiative will strengthen the confidence of the financial system, expand credit access, and support underserved groups such as women and youth, Tinubu said. The company will collaborate with key government agencies, including the Bank of Industry, the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation, the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Agency, and the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, alongside private sector and multilateral organizations. 8 months ago, Tinubu launched the Nigerian Consumer Credit Corporation to enhance credit access for employed Nigerians. Initially targeting federal civil service employees, the program has since expanded to include the general public. The president emphasized that this move is part of a broader effort to drive reindustrialization and improve living standards in Nigeria. And that's all for international news. Up next, entertainment. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ushered in the new year with a heartwarming gesture as he spent time with residents of the Weija Leprosarium on January 1, 2025. The visit was part of his commitment to fostering inclusivity and supporting vulnerable communities across the country. Dr. Bawumia, accompanied by his wife Samira Bawumia and a team of officials, shared moments of joy with the residents as he distributed food items and other essential supplies to the leprosarium, which houses individuals affected by leprosy and provides them with care and support. The Vice President, who is also a patron of the Weija Leprosarium, used the occasion to highlight the need for greater public awareness